All right, so here we go. Yes, Space Marine 2 just got a very big update. Update 9.0 just dropped, and let me tell you what, there are huge buffs for practically every melee weapon. You do not want to be sleeping on these changes. And guess what? Finally, yes, the Assault class got much needed buffs, and we're going to talk about those changes there. And we're also going to be talking about noteworthy changes around some perks as well. But we also have, guess what, a community event and a ton of patch notes to go over. Look at all of these patch notes that we're going to be talking about today. Now, I am going to be pointing out some of the more significant changes first and foremost when it comes to, of course, the Assault class and, yes, the melee weapon changes. I think those are first and foremost things that you guys have to know about. But you can see here, it just keeps going and going and going. They touched practically every single weapon in this game and updated it in a pretty big way. Also, there's this really cool combat quality of life improvement as well that I definitely want to talk about. One of your guys' biggest complaints regarding stuns and stuff like that has changed for the better, it looks like. But also, you know what? Check this out right here. So yes, as many of you already know, I game on PC for Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, and it looks absolutely beautiful, and that is thanks to Zydex PC. So if you guys may remember, Zydex PC hooked me up with a brand new rig, and it has been absolutely amazing. I've been using this rig for the past few months, and let me tell you what, has been smooth as butter. I cannot recommend Zydex PCs enough. So if you are interested in a Zydex PC, there are several different options on their website. You can also set up the PC to your budget, to your price point, so you don't have to feel overwhelmed in that regard. So that's really cool to note right there. But yeah, I will always recommend Zydex PC. You know, they've been wonderful to me over the past few years, and I've had zero issue running my games on my PC. You know, I'm running my games on like ultra settings, and everything's been running so smoothly, not even missing a beat whatsoever. And you know what? One of the most important things that I find with a PC like this is that it has to be quiet. It cannot be distracting. And let me tell you what, my Zydex PC is quiet as a mouse. And it is one good looking PC too. There are many different options on their website as well, where you can pick out what type of look you want for your PC. Then you can take it a step further by basically changing up the color for your PC. They have the really cool menu where on the fly you can go in there and change the colors for your PC to suit your style. So yeah, if you guys are looking to elevate your gaming experience, and maybe you're on console and you've been like mulling over the idea of going after PC gaming, well, this is your opportunity. Check out that link in the description below. Highly recommend Zydex, and I can't thank Zydex PC enough for supporting what I do here and providing me with my rig. So check them out in that description below. All right, so let's get into what's going on around Space Marine 2. Starting out with some news here, just in case if you did miss it. Yes, there is a community event going on right now. It is for Siege mode, and it is going to be an increase of 50% for experience. Now, some people were bummed by this. They feel like this should extend to the full game, to operations mode, but it is what it is now. Also, remember, it is going to be taking place from July 29th through August 5th. So yeah, it's a limited time thing. Go after it, check it out. But I did want to highlight some of the most important bits from those patch notes, so let's dive into that right now. First of all, a lot of people are rejoicing over this fact right here that Artificer block weapons have big damage now. Do not be sleeping on this one. Let me tell you what, they did a pass through again for practically every single melee weapon. And if you guys love Assault and you felt like Assault was underwhelming, well, this is your chance to really get in on Assault. Assault is feeling amazing right now. So these are definitely some big changes that really help the Assault out big time. Also, we have this note right here. The melee weapon update is insane. You need to check out the new weapon stats, guys. All melee weapons got a boost in damage. Balanced Power Fist is able to one-shot warriors again. Fencing weapon damage is not reduced. All fencing and balanced weapons have great speed now, like 7 and above. A little sad for block weapons. They have terrible speed, like 1 or 2. Dagger is the exception. It has speed 4. I feel balance is going to be the new meta. Block weapons damage is a little overkill. They might be good for some specific builds though. So this is going to be a lot of fun, goofing around with different builds, experimenting with fencing versus balance versus block. So yeah, a lot of stuff to dive in here when it comes to melee weapons. And we also have some important notes here about PvE melee weapon progression update. Check it out. Progression for all melee weapons has been updated to streamline the experience. Relic versions of the melee weapons will now always have better stats than artificer weapons, and distribution of the stats is going to follow these principles. And I did already go over this. Of course, balanced weapons have moderate damage and moderate speed. Fencing weapons offer the fastest speed but have the lowest damage, and block weapons are the slowest but deliver the highest damage. So that's kind of what they're going after going forward for the melee weapon experience. How are you guys feeling about that one? Well, what about the assault class specifically? Well, let's find out what's going on there, shall we? So we have gameplay and balancing tweaks. For the assault class ground pound damage, it says chainsword and power sword ground pound damage increase to match power fist and thunder hammers 1. And I've been playing with the power sword and it feels absolutely fantastic, I gotta say. So yeah, you know, I think it's cool looking, it's badass looking, and now it feels great. Now, there are some dev notes here that I want to highlight. It says this change should add more variety to the assault class's builds, because all of the one-shot builds implied having a thunder hammer or a power fist exclusively. So they really want to mix it up, offer more variety when it comes to playing as assault. And we do also have further updates to the assault class under class perks update. Check it out right here. It says this: Winged Fury, the perk has been reworked. The new version is damage from melee attacks executed while sprinting or dashing increases by 100%. Deals area effect damage within a 7-meter radius. Cooldown is 5 seconds. Now they note this, the AoE is not working properly on this perk. This will be fixed in the next patch. Now they go on to say this: defensive mechanism, what's changed there? The perk has been reworked. The new version is the following: contested health fades 50% more slowly. Active attrition, says this, damage is increased from 10 to 15%. And Smiting Angel, damage increased from 10 to 25%. For Hammer of Wrath, the perk has been reworked. The new version is, after use of Jump Pack, you take 30% less range damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 15 seconds, which is really, really cool. And yeah, you can clearly see here that these are significant buffs to the assault class. But you know what? That's not all, because they did do some pass-throughs for the heavy perks. Check it out right here. For Thermal Boost, it says this: the perk has been reworked. The new version is when a ranged weapon is 50% overheated, or you have 50% ammo in magazine, range damage increase by 15%. So a nice little buff right there for heavy. But earlier in the video, I did note that they did make some quality of life improvements to combat specifically, and there was a big complaint about being stunned all the time in this game. Well, they did do some pretty cool changes right here. Check it out. Combat quality of life. It says added anti-stun lock heavy hit diminishing features. If a player receives multiple heavy hits in quick succession, the duration of the next heavy hit will be reduced to 80%, and the duration of the third and subsequent heavy hits will be reduced to 60%. Now, Assault is, of course, now invulnerable during his ground pound landed animation. So I think a lot of you guys will celebrate this fact, because it's been one of the bigger complaints about constantly being stunned. And as we get further into the game's life, you can see that they're reducing, you know, the enemy being able to stun you. It's probably one of the most frustrating mechanics of any game out there, and I'm loving that they are making these changes. Now, they did have some notes here also about the Assault class. We bounce back to that. Check it out. Assault class has received multiple buffs this patch, and I would like to talk about it a bit more. We heard your feedback regarding the Assault class being too weak, and we agree, but to a point, the amount of effort it takes to play it right doesn't outweigh the benefits, which shouldn't be the case. However, the Assault class can one-shot most of the enemies on the hardest difficulty. It is already very strong against Tyranids, yet against Chaos, it struggles a lot. So we think the problem isn't the Assault kit itself, it's the Chaos army composition, and that will be changed soon. The buffs will make Assault better and more fun to play, but the core problem will be addressed in the next content patch. So it seems like we're going to be getting some very interesting, noteworthy changes here coming up here to the Chaos army, which I'm super excited about and curious to see what they do with that composition. And there were some complaints about how the power sword was working previously. Well, I got good news for you guys right here. It says the behavior should be very close to pre-patch 8 when it comes to the power sword. They said they fixed several issues with the power sword stance changing during certain animations. Now, they did say this, however, we can't match them 1-1 because some of its behavior was only working because of a bug that we have to fix and because of the cool new little functionality that will be introduced in the next patch. So a little bit of a tease right there that we're going to be getting something new in terms of the power sword's functionality. Can I say how much I love that they are updating the power sword? Let me tell you what, it is one of my absolute favorite melee weapons in the game. Also, there were some noteworthy changes here to, guess what, siege mode. So they say this, siege mode shop balance tweaks. Check it out. Guardian relic cost, I should say, has been reduced from 300 to 200. Armor kit cost reduced from 60 to 30. Dreadnought cost reduced from 1500 to 1250. That's actually really cool right there. Guardsman cost has also been reduced. Tier 1 is 100 to 100, and so on and so forth, as you can see right here. As you get through those tiers, the cost does reduce. Now, they increased Guardsman HP and damage, so they are more hardy. It says plus 50% for normal difficulty, 100% for hard difficulty. The Dreadnought time increased from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, hell yes. And they streamlined Terminus enemy spawn logic after the 16th wave. So every third wave can spawn 1 to 2 Terminus enemies, and every 5th wave can spawn 2 to 3 Terminus enemies as well. Now, they said this right here. Previous logic used to be too complex and depend on a sector, sometimes causing 30 plus waves easier than 20 plus waves. This change shouldn't affect game difficulty, but rather make it predictable. They also did fix multiple issues with enemy spawns and, you know, enemies getting stuck in their spawns and so on and so forth. Problems moving on to the next sector and things like that. Also, get this, completing waves as Assault class will now unlock Inferno pistol skin. So they really want you to check out the Assault class. And yes, PvE firearm weapons did get some updates here. I shouldn't say some, I mean a lot of updates. Practically every single weapon was touched. It would be absolutely ridiculous for me to sit here and read all of this, so I will throw the patch notes in the description below. But if we go back to the very beginning, right here, we do have some important notes from our creative director, who goes on to say this: our stats show that all of the firearms balance is in good spot right now, and all weapons are absolute viable, while some of the weapon archetypes are more popular and more effective than other ones. With this patch, we wanted to focus on actual versions balance. Some of the versions within the archetype were underpicked, and thus we would like to do a big pass on those, obviously. But in addition to that, we feel like some of the versions didn't stand out much from their counterparts. Therefore, we wanted to increase the stats difference to make sure the choice is more meaningful. And if you do a quick read through of these patch notes, you can clearly see they are specifically targeting certain tiers of weapons. And overall, from what I'm seeing, that these are going to be buffs. It doesn't seem like there's any like major nerfs here. So I think a lot of you guys will be very, very happy with these changes. But I did want to highlight this section right here in particular, firearms PvE only changes. We have Ox grenade launcher. They have increased the amount of grenades received for the grenade launcher from pickup from 50% to 75%. The Inferno pistol got some love as well. Base damage increased by 15%. Gun strike damage has been increased by 20%, and gun strike damage and knockback radius increased by 100%. Fixed typo in the motivated melee perk description as well. Now they say this: we want to make Inferno pistol as a dedicated crowd control weapon rather than a gun strike damage dealer type of weapon, because heavy bolt pistol already fills this niche. That being said, that niche is currently too specific, and we want to make sure that Inferno pistol performs well enough outside of it. So you can see they really are, like they said, trying to diversify the weapons enough to where you have like reason to use them for certain situations. But they did touch base here with the bolt pistol. Gun strike damage increased by 25%. The Neo Volkite pistol contested health recovery has been greatly increased and is now in line with other pistols as well. Oh, and check this out right here. Charge progress of Plasma Incinerator will no longer reset when heavy enters heavy stance, and lots of minor improvements to general responsiveness of controls in combat. Let me tell you what, the game is feeling fantastic. It's been a little bit since I've actually hopped into Space Marine 2. I've taken a little bit of a break, not gonna lie, and this has been kind of like really refreshing hopping into it with all these changes. It gives me a real reason to actually play Assault, which I'll be honest with you guys, I have not been playing Assault just because he's been so weak and he hasn't received much love. And now, finally, we have a really good reason to play him, and he feels fantastic. Also, there has been some changes to some AI, so check it out. They did fix the Neurothrope, dealing too much damage with its beam attack in some rare cases. The Lictor can now spawn invulnerable in some rare cases. They fixed that one, and then they fixed Cultist Sniper firing twice in some weird rare cases, and lots of minor animation fixes as well. And a lot of you guys felt like, hey, why in the hell did they nerf customization in the most recent patch? Well, check it out. We have some updates about customization. So they reverted fix that made it impossible to put a decal under geometry on the knee pad. So hell yeah, celebrate. That has been reverted back to normal, and lots of other minor fixes for customizations of armor parts and emblems. So we're gonna have to get in there and check that out. And I also feel like those fixes are probably prepping for the customization overhaul that will be coming up here. And again, one of the bigger issues and complaints has been how the game has been running. Matchmaking has been all over the place, so they have a section here dedicated to tech updates. So crash fixes and general stability improvements, matchmaking and network stability fixes, but they do have a bit of an asterisk here, a note here. Unfortunately, this patch doesn't have a fix for the top one server crash that plagues our community in siege mode right now. This has been a very difficult problem to identify for us, and we've been working on a solution since patch 8.1 and are going to continue to work on the fix and deploy it as soon as possible. We know that this has been very frustrating. Please excuse us. I can only assure you that this is our top priority right now. Also, we have minor performance and memory optimizations and improvements to game modding capabilities. Oh, and by the way, I should note that yes, there was a Data Vault update. They say this: new ordeals for Siege mode, new Data Vault reward screen with updated UX, and new entity Trigun in the Tyranids tab in the Data Vault. So they say this: we're adjusting Data Vault UI in internal unlock logic to make it expandable in the future, so adding new entries to it would not affect already given out rewards. And I know some of you guys are actually wondering, hey Robbie, what about PvP? So yeah, we did see some changes here. PvP extended list of available weapons. So you can see right here, you can pause the screen for yourself as you can take a look at what is going on with the weapons per class. So that's pretty cool. And then PvP progression. The XP has been recalculated. The amount of experience required to earn rewards has been reduced, making progression faster and more rewarding. New levels has been added. We've expanded the progression system. The new max level is now 44, and then lots of minor fixes for private lobbies, gameplay modificators. So yeah, overall, I really do think you guys will be fairly happy with this update. And then remember, the next update, update 10, is going to be the very, very big update. We also have the anniversary approaching for Space Marine 2, so hopefully we have like even bigger news around that time. Perhaps they'll finally give us the roadmap for year 2, but I will definitely keep you guys in the know as always about that sort of thing. But you guys know what time it is. It is time to go over your top comments. Remember, as always, leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a future video. But you know what? Also, I wanted to mention once again, if you guys are in the market right now for a brand new PC, or perhaps you've been a console gamer and you've been eyeballing PCs, I cannot recommend Zydex PC enough. You know what? They have supplied me with my current rig, which is running Space Marine 2 right here in this gameplay that you can see. But yeah, they have been absolutely amazing. My PC has had zero issues. It has been an amazing experience with them time and time again. For years, I've been with Zydex PC. I have no regrets. So follow that link in the description below to check out their website. There's also a way to figure out what type of PC you want based on your price point, based on your budget. So yeah, you can get in there and mess around with the numbers and find something that is suited for you, of course. And also, I want to say that these PCs are absolutely beautiful looking. They are stunning, and you can go into the menu here and change the colors of the look of the PC, the LED lights, to suit, you know, your office or what have you. It's really, really cool. And also, I got to say, my Zydex PC is quiet as a mouse, so you're not going to be distracted by, you know, the fans blowing. So that's great news. You really don't want that type of distraction when you're gaming. You want that immersion to be 100% when playing a game like Space Marine 2. But yeah, check it out in the description below. Can't recommend them enough. All right, so yeah, let's dive into those top comments, shall we? So we have this one. They need to improve friendly AI bots and bot customization. Yeah, I've been playing with bots a bit more than usual just because of connectivity issues and things like that. I 100% agree with this. You know, it used to be I had a stance where I was like, yeah, you know, we'll see if they do that or not. They probably have more priorities, but I really, really do think that this needs to happen at this point, just because, yeah, there's those connection issues, and it's nice to be able to customize your AI friendlies. All right, next up we have, I want the ability to chain melee executions like two Majoris in execute next to each other. That would be badass. Dude, that would be so freaking cool. Couldn't agree more with that one. Will it happen in Space Marine 2? I wouldn't hold your breath, you know, on that sort of thing. Space Marine 3, different story. Now, it says, if no assault rework, then 9.0 has failed. Well, I think 9.0, it seems like it's going to be a success. Cross my fingers that the community receives it well, of course, before we head into update 10. Also, we have XP boost on siege mode is just going to bring up some of the biggest problems with the mode currently, that being the fact that too many underlevel players use hard siege to try and level up. So a lot of people really are concerned about that issue right there. We'll see how that one pans out, of course. This is the big one right here, though. The unstable servers got me to stop playing siege. Damn. That really does suck to hear. So I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to be doing with siege mode in the future, since we have these problems in regards to, like, would we get a new map? I know a lot of you guys would actually like to see new maps, of course. That would make a lot of sense for them to do that sort of thing. But I do hope that they do allow us to face off against only Tyranids in the future. But there it is. Once again, the latest happenings around Space Marine 2. Thank you guys so much, as always, for the love and support on the video. Stay tuned here for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.